You are ready, Andy and Ola?
Yep.
Yeah, great. I would just like to ask welcome to everybody across Europe, actually. It's nice having you here in this webinar about automation. And I will just, we have with us Andy Palmer from the UK. He's presenting about what and why and how we should think about automation. And we have Ole Petter Johnson from Norway. He will showcase Veeam integration and talk about integration in total. So,
Roddy, I guess you can see my slide of the agenda.
yep.
Okay. So I've been asked to set the scene for our topic of IT automation. I thought I'd firstly just very quickly run through the agenda. I'm going to give you a little history lesson because I always think that history tells us a lot of things that we can learn from for the future, or perhaps not. But also we're going to then go into what do we define as automation in terms of IT automation. Why would you want to automate, and then into hows, and that's where we get into the live, really nitty gritty stuff with Ole. So without further ado, we all know that automation is not new, okay? It's been around for centuries, and the earliest use of the word automation is actually attributed to Homer. Those who you know your Greek history, not the Homer Simpson, the cartoon character, but Homer that wrote the Iliad and the Odyssey. And he was the guy who attributed that word to proposing a self-moving chariot. We haven't quite got there yet, I don't suppose, because we're still talking about having driverless cars, etc. But certainly it was recognized as the very early part of the automation. Imagine in those days as well, if you were an astronomer and you wanted to measure time, how would you do that accurately? There were no clocks. So what you did was actually you turned to one of humanity's very earliest automations, the water clock. I don't know if any of you have ever heard of it or could answer the question of what it's called, but it's called the clepsydra. It was simple. Water flowed from one container to another, marking time with its level. So it was a very humble beginning, yet it was the dawn of a new era. So fast forward to the Industrial Revolution. We see automation transforming industries, manufacturing industries, from steam engines automating manual labor to the assembly line, revolutionizing the whole of manufacturing. And of course, in the early computer industry, there were the punch cards. And those were invented by Joseph Jacquard, and soon after the first computer programs turned up. And it didn't take long before Deep Blue in 1990s, if you remember it, was one of the chess-playing expert systems from IBM, who went on to actually beat the then champion of the world, Garry Kasparov. So here you see a theme of automation taking over. So in each leap of automation, what you saw was greater efficiency, accuracy, and the ability to meet increasing demands. So what exactly is IT automation in the way that we mean it? Well, I'm not going to read this slide, but I'm sure you can read it yourselves. The key two messages I guess I see from this slide, talking about what is automation, is the fact that it's all about reducing manual intervention, and it's all about the fact that it's no longer needing that human touch. That's what automation is about, and that's really the premise that we're covering here today. So why automate? Today we live in a world where automation is not a luxury, it's a necessity, especially in the fast-paced domain of where you guys are of selling IT equipment. IT automation has been around for such a long time that even in the IT industry, why is it only now that when it comes to making technology investments in 2024, it's automation seen as one of the clearest emerging and thus hot IT categories. For MSPs and IT resellers, the demand for IT services has never been greater, nor the opportunities for helping your customers and their digital transformations. You know the challenges all too well. Look at them: the lack of resources, cumbersome manual processes, the relentless pressure to meet customer demand, all while managing multiple distributors and maintaining efficient communication, and at a time when finding trained staff is difficult. So what's the consequence? High operational costs, ineffective billing and invoicing, and a cumbersome troubleshooting process that hinders your ability to scale as a business. So it's a pretty daunting task, but not an insurmountable one. So what are the real benefits for MSPs and IT resellers of automation? Well, firstly, scalability. As the number of clients and endpoints grow, so does the complexity of managing them. And automation can lead to the high availability of services and allows you to scale operations without a corresponding linear increase in staff or resources. Indeed, several customer environments can be managed and worked on in parallel. There's improved organizational efficiency, optimized business workflows, repetitive tasks like patch management, backups and monitoring can be automated, delivering speedier response and lower costs, as well as freeing up technicians to innovate and focus on more complex, useful and rewarding tasks. This can help them to meet the company's more strategic goals, and this transforms providing services from a reactive to a proactive model. And of course, there's accuracy. Come back to the human touch again. Human error is inevitable in manual processes. Automation helps improve accuracy, and it's reducing the risk. A small error can lead to significant and costly downtime or security vulnerabilities when provisioning services. Automation ensures that tasks are performed uniformly, increasing the reliability of the service. There's cost savings and improved profitability. Automation helps in reducing the manpower and the time needed for mundane tasks. This directly contributes to cost savings, increased revenue, and improved profitability. And these improvements contribute investment in the business for further innovation. There's also improved customer and employee satisfaction. Automation enhances the experience of customers with more proactive interactions and speedier resolution of issues. Automated reports, faster response times, and minimal errors all contribute to a better customer experience. Churn is also reduced as satisfied clients are more likely to continue their contracts and recommend the service to others. And of course, competitive edge. As more and more MSPs and IT resellers integrate automation, those who lag risk falling behind. Automation offers a means to differentiate services, providing an edge in a crowded marketplace. This drives growth and increased profitability. So in summary, the benefits are seen where the fact that the most agile and fast-growing MSPs today use automation throughout their business to gain massive improvements in efficiency, productivity, and greater profitability, at the same time as improving staff commitments and morale, freeing up valuable talent to help build and grow the business. Well, there are certain choices as well, of course. There are other choices. You could do it yourself. I call this the ignore and struggle. Or this word cloud here sums up what happens when we so often hear from MSPs that they decide to do it themselves. They decide to use their internal development people, or they decide to outsource. And there's a whole list of things that, when you take on that sort of challenge, have to be considered. Typical considerations are just down to, for instance, how do we define the project clearly? How do we justify the cost? Who are the stakeholders? Who's going to run the project? What are the resources needed? How long does it take to get to market? I know of MSPs where it's been multiple years. What's the return on investment and what's the risk? All of these things, along with having to provide SLAs to your customers, make going this route a real high challenge decision. Obviously, though, there's an alternative. You could also be, as I would call it, bold and accelerate your business with a ready-made, tried and tested solution. Introducing, therefore, to you the ZaveIT platform. And this is a modern day water clock, if you like, going back to the analogy we used in history a little while ago. So with ZaveIT, you can automate your entire workflow, ensuring that every process from billing based on consumption to the delivery and deployment of services is streamlined. This isn't just about replacing manual processes, however, it's actually about transforming your business to be more agile, more responsive, and to be cost effective. Imagine connecting seamlessly with multiple distributors and vendors, erasing the inefficiencies of internal communication, and scaling your business without those normal growing pains. So with ZaveIT, it's not just imaginable, it's achievable. Today, we're going to deep dive into how ZaveIT can simplify your everyday business, eliminate inefficiencies, and empower you to meet and exceed customer expectations without the burden of high operational costs. So let's learn how to set your business on autopilot and watch it soar to the new heights. So over now to Ollie Petter, who will deep dive into how we automate the ZaveIT platform. Over to you, Ollie.
Thanks, Andy. So I'm going to walk you a bit through a couple of the topics that Andy touched on as well, what we do within the ZaveIT platform to automate. We're also going to dig a bit deeper into integrations, how we use integrations to automate. And with that, we're actually going to take a live look into the platform itself and look at our integration into Veeam and the Veeam Service Provider console. Both from what it looks like actually after it's all automated and the customer actually goes in and buys a service from you and deploy that service, but also how we actually do the integration, how we set it up, how we build the service based on that integrations, and so on. And integrations is all about communicating between the platform and third-party applications or services out there. And it enables the platform to basically communicate and import and export data between the platform or an application or a service out there to be able to leverage that data, make decisions, do and automate manual tasks that's often you need to do with a technician or a consultancy to, for example, deploy a new backup customer within your system. And when we have a look at the integration, we at Saving are adding constantly more and more integrations. We have a really good stack of integrations into backup and security vendors. We have been starting to adding some network suppliers as well. And of course, distribution is a big part of it. And actually really soon, we are introducing object storage together with Zadara, and that will enable you to build a really good backup as a service through the ZaveIT platform, and even better than it is already today. And like I said, we're going to look at a live view at the Veeam integration today. And just to set the stage a bit, you can see kind of a workflow here. So with the integration, we actually integrate into the service provider's Veeam Service Provider console. This is where the actual service provider creates the end customers and control all the licenses and credentials for the customer to actually be able to connect to the service provider's Cloud Connect. This is, of course, automated all the way through from creating the product to actually the customer deploying their service, getting their licenses, getting their credentials, and going in and actually starting using the service. So with that, let me log into the platform and we will start to have a look at how it actually looks like for a customer that wants to buy the service after it's automated. So here you can see a marketplace or a service that's provided from a service provider. And as you can see, it's a Cloud Connect virtual machine connection. And you can see here you have all the description of the service, you have the images, you have the pricing, and so on. So if I'm now your end customer, I want to buy the service, I click on the buy now. The first thing it asks me is how many VMs do I want to protect? Let's say I want to protect 25 VMs. You can also opt up for asking additional questions. For example, what's the average size of the virtual machines that are going to be protected in this backup service? So let's say, for example, my average size is 80 gigabytes or it's 100 gigabytes, for example, across those 25 VMs. Then as a customer, I go to the next. I'm already logged in, or if I'm not an existing customer, I can create an account straight away to my service provider. And lastly, you get the summary. You can see here, I'm ordering the service, I have my price, I can opt for agreement period, for example, a 3-year upfront will save me 5%. If I do a yearly billing, it will save me another 5%. You as a service provider can build your services exactly how you want to make sure you are able to provide the best service and fitting the needs of your customers all the way through. Lastly, I go on and I buy the service. Now I can go on and go to get started. The next step I will need to do as a customer is to actually deploy my service. So within the platform, I'm going to deploy. And let me see here. Looks like I had an error in my setup here, actually, unfortunately. Let me see if I can get this working really quick here from the end. Let me just do this really quick.
And while Ole is just logging in, I would just like to say that I've uploaded some files for you to download after the webinar. And also, of course, we have a Q&A at the end. So if you would like to ask some questions to Andy or Ole, just add them in the question field so we can discuss later.
Yeah. Then I'm back.
Great. Over to you, Ole.
Yeah. So here you can see now I get to deploy up and I can see my Veeam service here. So I'm going to next. It tells me what it's going to do and I start deploy the service. This will take a couple of minutes, and what it's actually now doing is it's communicating between the platform, taking the information about the customer that bought this service and communicating with the Veeam Service Provider console, creating the tenant, generating the licenses, and actually providing that to the customers. So let's come back to this screen in a couple of minutes, but while we wait for that deployment, let's look at how you as a service provider actually do the integration into the Veeam Service Provider platform. So here I'm logged in as another MSP, and I want to add the Veeam integration. The first thing I would do is to go into my settings and I will go into integrations. And here I can add a new integration. I will select Veeam, and here is where you give your integration a name. This could be whatever you want. It could be your name, it could be your environment. If you have multiple data centers and you're providing services through different data centers, you can call them through that. The next thing you do is to select the worker. And what is a worker? The worker is actually the secure channel between your data center and the ZaveIT platform. The worker makes sure that the platform can communicate to the service provider console, and of course, that's fully encrypted. Then you provide your URL. In this instance, in my environment, I already have the URL in there. And then you need to add your API key. And you get this API key through the Veeam Service Provider console. You push create, and after it's created, of course, we can test the communication. So I do a test integration, and we can see the integration was successfully added. The last thing I do is to activate it. And now we have integrated the ZaveIT platform from your account into your service provider console from Veeam. And the next step would be to create a product and create a service. So let's have a look at how easy we can actually create a new product using the Veeam Service Provider console integration. I go into products and I create a new product. So let's say we are creating a Veeam VM backup product. I set it that I want this product to be active, and of course it's now alerting me that I need to set a price to the product as well before I can save it. You can give it a description. You can select should this be a subscription product or not. You can select your currency, and you're also selecting the input. So remember, when I bought the service as a customer, it asked me how many VMs do I want to protect. So here I can again add number of VMs, and the customer will be asked about that. When it comes to the pricing, I can say, for example, I want a 12 months agreement period. I can do a 1 month billing cycle. I can do a cost of 25 euros. The minimum amount of VMs will be 1. The maximum, maybe I want it as 1,000 and default 1. And I set a retail price on the service as well. And then I can go down to advanced settings. And here I'm actually enabling backup, so the customer will have access to the backup UI, and I can add the integration. So here you can see it lists the Veeam integration. And let me just look for and find the Veeam for VMs. Here we go. You're selecting that. And this is actually where we are connecting that integration to that service provider console to the product itself. We can add consumption properties as well. So if you want to bill on, for example, data protected or amount of VMs or whatever kind of parameter you want to build this on. And then saving the product, and the product is now ready to be used into a service. So the next step would be to create the service itself. Go into services, I create a new service. So backup as a service, Veeam, for example. And then I can go ahead and give that an image. I can give it a description. And of course, the next step would be then to add the product itself. So I'm selecting the product, adding it in. I can say, who do I want to make this available for? Should everybody of my customers be able to buy it? Or I can actually, if I have multiple customers, restrict it as well. And then, of course, I can tune and set up my agreement periods on the service, on the subscription, and the billing cycle as well. So let's say I want to give them 20% discount if they pay for a year upfront, for example. I can do that through here. I can then also upload even more media so the service looks really nice. I'm adding in more media. And then, of course, I'm adding in as well a service description. So when the customers go to your marketplace, they actually see some information about that service. Then I save it and I activate it, and it's now ready for my customers. So that's all you need to do to present that service. So now let's see and go back and see if it's already deployed for my customer. And we can actually see that here. This is what the customer is met with. They get their credentials, they get their license to download, and the customer can then go into their own Veeam environment, add a new connection to a Cloud Connect, add the credentials, add the licenses, and they are ready to start sending data to your Veeam service all the way through. This is what I was going to show you in today's demo. So let me just jump quick on back here to the slides and let's open it up for some questions.
I will just have a quick look here, Ole, if I can. Yep. Okay, I got a few questions for you. You as well, Andy. I will just unmute you, Andy, so you can be part of the Q&A. So if I decide to go with ZaveIT, will I have to do a complete rip and replace?
Do you want to answer that from a technical point firstly, Ollie, and then I'll answer from a...
Yeah, I can do that. So the short and easy answer is no. We are not about the rip and replace. We think that you can use the ZaveIT platform from a technical end to really optimize and automate a lot of your services and selling of the services and also management of the services. But from a technical end, we do integrations, right? We integrate into already existing applications and systems to make and create the best of both worlds, basically. So from a technical end, we can absolutely coexist, or we can replace. So it's not no right or wrong in that case from my view.
And I think from the experience we have talking to lots of different MSPs or IT resellers has been the fact that they want to start in somewhere. And I sort of liken it to the pick and mix side of things, where you can choose which bits that you want to do, whether it be the marketplace and the front end side from a customer or reseller portal, all the way through to the back end side of the integration, Veeam, etc. So there isn't any concept of rip and replace. It start small and let the platform spread as appropriate.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Then I think you answered also the next question here, Andy. But what help is available for ZaveIT to roll out the platform?
One for you, Ole. I think you've had experience of that recently.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a professional services team that of course help our customers and partners to get started with integrations, of course, but also building products, coming out to the market, installing and getting your first customers up and ready. So we are here to assist you, and some partners require more help than others. Someone want to play themselves and do it themselves, and other wants to do it together with us. So we absolutely have resources to assist with that.
And I guess from my side, I'd say that one of the design principles has been to make it all so easy. So, you know, we really do want to give the help where it's needed, but we do think it's also relatively easy to self install, get it up and running.
That's good. The last one here. Can I try the ZaveIT platform or a trial? And what do I need to do if I do? Who to contact or where to start?
Well, let me start on that one. Obviously, we'd love to talk to you if you've got an interesting project. We'd love to help and discuss what's required. I know Ollie's pretty tough on making sure that we know what's needed in terms of what would be if we're either doing a proof of concept or if we're doing a trial, what are the success criteria. But that's pretty easy to sort of work with you to do that. And you can get hold of myself, you can get hold of Ollie, you can get hold of our team in Denmark with Mark, you can Espen in Norway. Any of us would be delighted to talk to you. So, and you know, our friends in Germany and the Netherlands, again, get in touch.
Absolutely.
I think that is the questions we can take ourselves time to answer today, and the rest we will answer on email later, and also send out to the rest of you if you want to hear them. Then we're moving over to the key takeaways, Andy.
Yeah, well, I guess I mean pretty straightforward here. You can read these, but that whole question that, automation it really is crucial. In fact, the phrase I think I used many times, perhaps I can't. So it's about it's absolutely vital to MSPs and to enhance efficiency and productivity, as I talked about, and obviously that leads to profitability, reducing the costs, improves profitability. That makes a big difference. Always talked about the platform there, so the ZaveIT Platform offering a comprehensive automation solution. But I keep, the one I always sell, this is the salesman in me, is that automation is one of the smartest and ultimately most profitable decisions you can make as a service provider. And we see that with the sort of messages we get from the customers who've gone ahead and worked with ZaveIT. They're seeing some real change in their businesses. So that's kind of my message to everybody.
Great. Thank you, Andy. This was the last thing we wanted to share today, but I've uploaded this as a PDF to you, so you can reach out to us both on social media, of course, and our webpage, and also contact us, any of us in the sales team.
I would say, actually, Mariana, if there are any of you out there that would like to see more in terms of a webinar on other topics within the frame that we work in, then we'd be delighted to hear from you to see if we can do that. I mean, I know that we have some plans with a webinar to do with the whole sort of return on investment side of things from a financial perspective, and I'm pretty certain we can also be happy to do one on, why a lot of projects fail. And why we think that we can, internal projects takes a long time, as I already talked about. So we're looking, maybe we can go into more detail there. But any ideas, we'd be happy to hear from you.
Please share. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, well, if that's it, that's goodbye from me.
And a Merry Christmas, could we say that? Is it too early?
I think it's 1st December tomorrow, isn't it?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Thanks for your time. Bye.
Bye.